Welcome, everybody, to the NFL Prediction Show. And tonight, Dan is running controls, which is why everything is so jacked up. But I want to remind everybody that the NFL Prediction Show and the Grueling Truth is powered by Betting.net. Betting.net is your best bet for finding the online casino or sportsbook that's right for you. Make sure you check them out at Betting.net. I also want to remind everybody to go hit or check out TGT Play on Twitter for all your social casino needs. But we are at week 15. Steve Risley is still out. He should be back next week. Should be, back home this weekend. So everything's going well with Steve, which is great. Joe Spillman calls girls high school basketball. Poor guy. So he's there tonight. So that leaves you with just the two of us. I'm Mike Goodpastor, and he is Dan Kornhauser. How you doing, Dan?
What up? I am fresh off literally the worst week anyone can have pick'em wise, short of getting none wrong. And I am ready to forget all about it and get back to double-digit correct picks this week.
Yeah, and Dan had a 10-game lead a month ago, and he was told right then that I would walk him down and beat him like a rented mule. His lead is now down to, 3 or 4 games, Dan? 4 games. Dan has lost 6 games in the last 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. If I wouldn't have sucked almost as bad as Dan, I'd be in first right now. But go ahead, Dan. What's our first game we're going to look at this week?
First game is a doozy. The San Francisco 49ers at the Seattle Seahawks. The San Francisco 49ers are favored minus 3.5. Mike, who's going to win?
I think this Purdy hype is alive and well. He'll make his first road start against Seattle. Seattle's defense has been trashed, as you would so eloquently put it in your own words. They're coming off a dud of a loss to Carolina. Seattle has averaged just 60 yards rushing per game in the last 4 weeks, a 1-3 stretch that will get worse if they're one-dimensional against the 49ers. They're going to be one-dimensional. The other thing is Seattle does not stop to run. I'm going to take the 49ers over to Seahawks. Now, I will put this caveat in. I don't like the point spread because Geno Smith probably will put up some points, and we really don't know how good Brock Purdy is yet. But I'm going to go with the 49ers, Dan, and give it 3.5 points.
I'm actually going to agree with you, and this is going to be one of those ugly games. San Francisco should win. It's a short week. They're the better team. Their defense is ridiculous. McCaffrey is ridiculous. Everything around Purdy is right. I am wearing my 49ers jersey tonight. Right there. Boom. Got to show them some love. I'm on the Purdy bandwagon. He's my new favorite quarterback. He is questionable with oblique and rib injuries, but he had a walkthrough. He was limited, but he did participate. He should be playing.
And the backup to him is Josh Johnson, who's 75 years old, and I believe he backed up Bart Starr in the Ice Bowl.
Josh Johnson has been around.
He has
been around. All right, so let's see. So the next one, the Indianapolis Colts at the Minnesota Vikings, Minnesota minus 4. I'm going to start us off on this one. I'm going to take Minnesota. I think this is an obvious pick. The Colts are in all sorts of trouble. Minnesota's got to show up this week. They're looking a little suspect, especially after this last loss against the Lions. So I think this is a bounce back for them. I'll take Minnesota.
Well, I think this, as I said last week, they have the look of a team that's going to get beat in the first round of the playoffs no matter what they do. The Detroit Lions handled them last week in the fourth quarter. I think the Lions are the better team in that division right now. Just unfortunately, the Lions didn't realize that until about a month ago. The Colts are coming off a bye week. Jeff Saturday is still their coach. I'm going to take Minnesota. The Vikings are 6-1 straight up at home. Of course, we got to give the points here. This is on a Saturday. Short week for the Vikings. Colts are coming off a bye. Maybe the Colts hang in this game for a while, but
maybe
I'm gonna take Minnesota.
Minnesota. All right. So our next game, let me see here. Oh, here we go. Paul Sullivan showing up early. He's going with Minnesota on this one. So, Paul, what about the 49ers Seahawks? Let's see that one too. You missed one, bud. But let's move on
to the next game. We're just gonna have Paul on next week. Next game. Joe on. Paul's smarter than Joe.
You know what? You said that last week, and Joe was offended.
Yeah, that's because he knows it's true.
The next game is the Baltimore Ravens at the Cleveland Browns.
I'll take this one first. This is my lock. This is the lock of the week. There is no doubt in my mind right here. The Cleveland Browns will win this game. They'll win it straight up. I think they'll win it by at least a touchdown. I think the Cleveland Browns, I mean, rookie Anthony Brown could get the start here. Tyler Huntley's in a concussion protocol, which he has one less day to come back on. I think this Cleveland Browns team is better than their record. I think their offensive line is one of the best in the NFL. Their defensive line is one of the best in the NFL. The problem is the DBs suck. The quarterback play, I mean, really, as a Bengals fan, I'm glad Deshaun Watson played last week because he did not look ready to play. I think Jacoby Brissett would have gave the Browns a better chance to win. With that being said, though, I think right here, Deshaun Watson, he's going to get the cobwebs out. He's a good quarterback. He's going to play well. I think the Browns pull off a home sweep of their AFC North opponents with this victory. I think the Cleveland Browns win this game.
Yeah, pretty boring. 3 straight picks, 3 straight agreements. I'm also going to take Cleveland for all the reasons you said. I fully expect them, even though Baltimore defense has been playing a little better. Too many questions on offense. Way too many questions on offense, especially at the quarterback position. So I'm going to take.
I still don't think this is questions at the quarterback position. I think Huntley and Jackson are both good enough to win, but there's no weapons for them to win with. You got to put one of those betting.net things up there over top of the Ravens Browns, since we're brought to you by or powered by them.
Yeah, you know what? There's a lot going on here. So I'm going to start with this one. Betting.net is your best bet for sportsbook and casino sites. So head on over to betting.net.
See, I make this shit look easy, don't I?
You do. You really do. There's a lot going on. I'm writing the picks. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm looking at injury reports. I'm all over the place.
And you need to leave the betting.net thing up there.
Listen, I don't know. I don't know what you want me to do. I'm going to do that. There's the one.
There you go. Just leave it like that. Let's go to the next game, Dan.
Let's go to the next game. That's the Miami Dolphins.
Did you pick this game? You picked the Browns, right?
Cleveland.
Okay.
3 in a row for the two of us. So just the two of us. The Miami Dolphins at the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo's -7 on this one. I'm going to start us off. The weather is not going to be favorable. I think Buffalo wins, but I think it's going to be an ugly ass game. I'm going to take I'll pick Buffalo to win, but I'm going to take Miami on this -7.
All right, I'll pick up a game then, because I think that's absolutely nuts. Because the Miami Dolphins have offensive weapons. O-line's still not great. Still not a great pass rush. The secondary is absolutely horrible. Mike McDaniel is a horrible football coach. I mean, come on. He looks like a 12-year-old who got lost and he's looking for his mom in Walmart. So you got, because their offense is basically, everything is an RPO. You cannot win in the NFL like that. Tua Tagovailoa cannot throw the ball deep. He is a very inaccurate quarterback. He winds up the throw, and it absolutely makes me sick. I'm not a big Justin Herbert fan. I do think Justin Herbert's good, though. But to compare, and this is one of the games I picked up on you last week, I think, was by taking the Chargers. To compare Tua to Justin Herbert is absolutely asinine. Tua can't play. He's going to go, maybe it's snowing. Josh Allen can play in the snow. Josh Allen might run for 200 and throw for 300. But I think the Buffalo Bills win this game easily. I think the only saving grace for the Miami Dolphins is the rest of their schedule is pretty much easy. So they're probably still going to make the playoffs. But the Miami Dolphins are going no farther than a first-round loss, no matter who they play in the playoffs.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not picking Miami because I think they're going to win. But Buffalo's obviously the better team. They're playing at home. Miami's not going to be ready for this. But if it is as snowy as the forecast is looking like,
that makes it a bigger blowout because Buffalo's used to playing in that. Miami is from Miami.
Fair, but how often do teams drop a lot of points in 2 feet of snow? What I'm saying? I
watched Tom Brady drop 55 against Tennessee one year. That's
the GOAT. All right.
I watched Terry Bradshaw drop 30-something in an ice storm against the Houston Oilers in the 79 AFC Championship game. This is the thing. In snowy conditions, the Dolphins have a bad secondary. Stephon Diggs knows where he's going. The defenders don't. This is an ass kicking. That's it. Ass kicking. And Paul says Brady and Allen can't be compared. You don't have to compare them. Josh Allen is used to playing in weather like this. He played at the University of Wyoming. He's played in snow a lot. And I think that the success rate for him in the snow, college and the NFL, is damn near 100%. And once again, the Miami Dolphins are not very good. They're complete pretenders. If you look at them, The game against the Baltimore Ravens, they should have lost. They won the game because the Ravens seem to choke almost every lead they have away this year. And if you watched Miami when they played Cincinnati, they got dominated. They are not on the level of a Cincinnati, a Kansas City, or a Buffalo. That's simple.
I connect Miami to be the AFC's version of Minnesota, because Minnesota's sitting there pretty with 10 wins, only 3 losses on the season, but Minnesota does not look good. And Miami obviously doesn't have 10 wins. They're 8-5.
But the thing I'll give you is this, though. They've got Dalvin Cook.
They're the same team.
They've got Dalvin Cook, which is better than anything Miami's got running the ball.
Oh, definitely.
Both teams have offensive line issues. Kirk Cousins is worlds better than Tua Tagovailoa. And I'm not a huge Kirk Cousins fan, but Kirk Cousins is legit NFL quarterback.
He's better this year.
Tua Tagovailoa is not. I mean, he's just not. Jalen Hurts is much better than Tua.
Yeah, anyone who compared Justin Herbert to Tua?
It was last week on the game. I mean, they were lumping all three in. Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert. I mean, there's levels to this. Joe Burrow here, Justin Herbert there. Tua's down there by my feet.
Yeah, he's down there somewhere. And who knows what he's doing down there. But okay, so Paul Sullivan says upset alert.
Paul's nuts. Paul, you're wrong. Now maybe Joe's smarter.
Well, that'll flip-flop throughout the show. Let's move on. The Atlanta Falcons visit the New Orleans Saints. They go down New Orleans -4. Mike?
Well, the thing that's amazing here is both of these teams remain in the playoff hunt in the NFC South. Somebody's got to win that division. Right now, the Carolina Panthers are probably the best team in that division. I mean, and that's what Steve Wilkes is why. And right now, that'll tell you how stupid the Arizona Cardinals are, because the Cardinals fired that guy after 1 year when they gave him a team that had no chance at all. And the Falcons are turning to Desmond Ridder at quarterback after this bye week. The Saints, for all the wrongs this season, are still 3-4 at home. Desmond Ridder is ass. I'm going to take the New Orleans Saints. I mean, Andy Dalton is Johnny Unitas compared to Desmond Ridder.
Damn. That's shots fired. Pew, pew, pew.
It's not shots, because, I mean, all you got to do is watch Desmond Ridder poop his pants during the college football semifinal game last year against Alabama.
Well, that'll happen when you're going against...
Dude, the game was 17-6 with 10 minutes left. The UC defense was fine hanging with Alabama, and UC had offensive guys all over the place. And yes, this game is garbage.
Garbage, but Saints, Falcons are doo-doo. Yes, Paul Sullivan, and you know what? It pains me, but I'm going to agree on this one as well. So far, Mike, you and I have only differed on one game thus far. We're 5 in. But I'm going to take New Orleans -4 here. I expect a big game from Alvin Kamara, and I expect Ridder to struggle, as you said. Moving on. But the Pittsburgh Steelers, there we go. Pittsburgh Steelers at the Carolina Panthers. Carolina -2.5. I'm going to take the Carolina Panthers in this one. And I don't know how I feel about that when I say that out loud, because I think their quarterback's Sam Darnold still.
Yeah, and it's infinitely better than anybody Pittsburgh has.
I mean, Kenny Pickett's like the same guy.
No, because Sam Darnold has more experience. And Sam Darnold was stuck. Every place Sam Darnold's been, he's been stuck in a bad situation. I still think Sam Darnold's got a better chance to work out than Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett, or whatever that guy that played for the Bears, Trubisky, could do.
Oh, yeah, totally. But I'm going to go Carolina on this one. Mike?
Yeah, I'm going with Carolina too, because like I said, Carolina's playing better than anybody in this division right now. The defense is playing well. Steve Wilkes has these guys, doing what they're supposed to do. They play hard for him. And I'm hoping this is not like what the Raiders did last year, where, they needed a name, so they went and got Josh McDaniels, even though Biasucci, or whatever the hell his name is, got him to the playoffs last year. Yeah, they shit on him. And now look where they're at. So I'm going to take the Carolina Panthers, and I'm going to give the 2.5 points. I think they'll win the game. And I also think this. Mike Tomlin's a damn good coach, too. Both of these guys are really good football coaches. They're both doing a lot in bad situations.
Yep. And Paul Sullivan chiming in, Panthers, but low-scoring game. And actually, he mentioned something very interesting. I think a lot of these games this week are going to be low-scoring. I think San Fran at Seattle is going to be low-scoring. I think this game's going to be low scoring. That Atlanta New Orleans game might be low scoring because let's not make believe like either of those teams can put up points. New Orleans it's ugly. I think Miami at Buffalo could be under 20 for whoever wins.
Under 20? You're crazy.
No way. Like
there's
like
no
Buffalo,
way Miami holds them under 24 points.
I mean, if it's I don't know. We'll see. We will see.
Quit whining about the damn snow. It doesn't matter. The quarterback's from Wyoming. Stephon Diggs lived in Minnesota. They'll be fine.
Now, before we continue, I, of course, have to show some more love to betting.net.
You suck at
betting.net is your top sportsbook comparison site.
You're better than Joe by far and Paul, but go ahead.
It offers extensive reviews on the best sportsbooks out there, so head on over to betting.net. Let me get my little banner there. Boom. And we're moving on. The Philadelphia Eagles. Wow. I still can't believe they're 12-1. At the Chicago Bears, 3-10. Philly, -9. I'm going to start us off on this one. I'm going to take Philadelphia. I think this is a lock it up. They should just do whatever they want at Chicago, and it doesn't matter what Chicago does. I'm going to take Philly. If this line was higher, I'd still take Philly.
All right, I'm going to take the Bears at 9 points. The Eagles are 1-2 against the spread when favored by 7 points or more. They'll be able to score points, but Dan, what if the weather's bad in Chicago? Doesn't that change everything? But I think you got Justin Fields will be able to produce a bunch of plays to be able to keep this team remotely in the game. I think you get a backdoor cover. I think this is a game that's like 37-24 in the final minute. Chicago gets a cheap one in the closing seconds, and they cover this. I think 9 points is a lot against the Bears, and Justin Fields the way he's playing right now.
If the weather is bad, I think that actually plays in Philadelphia's favor because they do have one of the best rushing attacks in the NFL. So if the weather sucks, it's windy, it's rainy, it's snowy, whatever, I think they're better built than Buffalo for the inclement weather because Buffalo can't run the ball with anyone besides Josh Allen, at least not efficiently.
Well, they don't try to is I think their biggest issue.
I think that's a huge problem in itself, but I think
just remember you heard it here first. Don't be surprised if the Bears win this game.
You know what? Why not?
I say that because of this. Right now, you got a Philadelphia team that is 12-1. We all know every team every year, no matter how good they are, lose a game or two they shouldn't, win a game they shouldn't. So right here, I mean, this screams trap game to me.
Okay.
I think the Bears will be in this game. I think they'll put up a fight.
And Paul Sullivan says Eagles by 17. So he and I are on the same page. Maybe he's not that smart after all. I think you might have spoke to.
I said he was smarter than you, dude. Just go ahead.
Let me get the right banner up. It keeps going down for some reason. Boom! There we go. Moving on. The Detroit Lions visiting the New York Football Jets. New York is favored -1, or at least they were. I think we're at when I did this earlier. I think now it's an even line. But regardless, Jets -1. I might be going to this game. I'm going to take Detroit. I know I started the last game too, but I'm going to pick this one. It's my team. I'm going to take Detroit. I know Mike White fever has gripped New York here, but there's a possibility Mike White doesn't play this weekend. Robert Saleh said that they're practicing as though he's going to. They expect Mike White to play. They're moving along in the game plan, assuming Mike White's playing. But they will have Wilson as the backup just in case. Joe Flacco was a backup last week. It was a disaster. He did not belong on the field.
Well, he's still better than Zach Wilson.
At least Zach can run away.
It doesn't matter. That's all Zach does is run away and then chuck the ball behind his back for somebody to pick it off. While he's trying to sleep with his mom's friends.
Joe's just standing in the pocket, couldn't do anything.
That's fine. You don't lose yardage that way, at least, though. Zach Wilson's ass. And I'm not defending Joe Flacco, but there's also the chance of this. Joe Flacco at one point was one of the best quarterbacks in the game. Maybe he'll have a flashback to that for a half or so and give you a chance. But
Super Bowl winner.
I agree with you. I think the Lions win this game. I think the difference here is the Lions defense has improved. I think the Jets offense is going to have issues. But my main thing is Jared Goff is the best quarterback in this game. He's got the weapons. I think the Lions will be able to score enough points that the Jets can't keep up. I'm going with the Lions also. And I would like to recall to start our first show when I said that I thought the Lions actually had a shot to make the playoffs.
You did. You really did. And I laughed at it then. I still think it's kind of silly. I watch this team every week.
Hey, but if they win this game, Dan, they're going to go to the playoffs.
They are, like I said, they are numerically still very much relevant.
It's more numerically. They're just one game back. And if they win out, they make it. If they lose one game, I think they probably make it. Because the Seattle Seahawks are not playing very well right now.
Yeah, those are two teams going on opposite ends. One team is going down the escalator, the other team's going up the other side.
You could actually have the Panthers and Lions both make the playoffs.
That's gross. I think that's more of an indictment how bad the NFC is, more so than how either of those two teams are playing.
How about this though? I don't think that's right when you talk about the Detroit Lions, because right now the Lions are one of the 10 best teams in the NFL just by the way they're playing right now.
I mean, you're not wrong. They're what, 6-1 in their last 7 games or something like that?
Yeah, and if we look at it, the Jets went to Buffalo and lost by a touchdown. I mean, these are both good football teams.
The Lions should have beat the Buffalo Bills.
Hey, the big thing is this. These are two teams that are going in the right direction. I think especially the Jets. I really like Robert Saleh. I mean, the Lions, I think, are headed in the right direction also. And the great thing for the Lions is nobody brings this up. Everybody ripped them for trading Matthew Stafford. But right now, that pick next year in the first round will be a 4th pick in the first round. I mean, the Detroit Lions, because of that trade, could end up winning a Super Bowl.
You know what? As a Lions fan, I've had to deal with literally over 20 years since I've been a Lions fan. And I've had to deal with inept draft classes.
Dude, me and Paul don't want to hear it. We're Bengal fans.
Awful free agent signings, terrible general managers like Matt Millen. And now we actually have a good front office, it looks like. We have a direction. This is maybe...
And this is the important thing about that 4th pick. I mean, you've got Jared Goff. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC right now. So you could have a team really desperate to get a quarterback that may give you a crap load more draft picks to move up to that 4th pick.
I mean, there's teams all around the NFL that need a quarterback and would be happy to move up, and we'll see what happens.
With all the quarterbacks out there, the Lions can pick whatever position they want and go get the best player at it with that 4th pick.
BPA, baby. That's what the good teams do. But we both took Detroit. Let's move on to the next game. The Dallas Cowboys visit the Jacksonville Jaguars, talking about teams making waves. Dallas is -4 on this one, Mike.
Dude, the Jaguars have got a real shot to win this division if they were to win this game.
Yeah.
Because the Tennessee Titans have completely dropped off the map. And I think when you look at the Titans, the big issue to me still, the reason the Eagles are so good and the Titans are so bad and they've kind of switched records from last year is the A.J. Brown trade. The A.J. Brown trade pretty much decimated the Titans because the only playmaker you got is Derrick Henry. Yeah. And you look at the Cowboys. Everybody says typical Cowboys, they barely beat the Texans. Typical Cowboys would have lost that game.
Yep.
So I'm not going to call it. I mean, typical Cowboys doesn't drive 98 yards in 2 minutes to win the game. Now, with that being said, this point spread is 4.5.
-4.
4? Okay. So, damn. I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to take the 4 points.
And take Jacksonville. All right. We differ on another one. I'm going to take Dallas. And listen, I want to take this moment to show some love to Trevor Lawrence, because since week 9, Trevor Lawrence has been one of the best quarterbacks in the league. 11 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Did you watch him against the Detroit Lions?
Everyone has a bad game.
No, but you said he was one of the best quarterbacks. So
he hasn't turned the ball over, throwing picks wise. He's got 11 touchdowns, and they're playing better. He looks better.
Okay, I'll give you this right now. He's looked better all year off and on. He never does it 2 games in a row. This game is huge for his career, I think. If he was to come out again and play big against the Cowboys and follow up to what he did last week on the road with doing it again at home, I think you're on to something. If he comes out and he plays like crap and he goes 13 for 32, throws a touchdown and 2 picks, that is still the same Trevor Lawrence, because right now his problem is he's not consistent. All year they've played
That's
14 games, and he's probably played well in 6 and poorly in 8.
well,
or 7 and 7 even.
Well, you look when it comes to these young quarterbacks in terrible situations like he's had in Jacksonville. The difference between last year and this year is astronomical. It's a huge difference, and you got to look. And you're a coach. You should appreciate. You should.
No, I'm telling you this though. Wait. He's the first pick in the draft. It shouldn't matter where he goes. Joe Burrow went to the worst situation in professional football. I mean, the worst. And 2 years later, his first full season, he goes to the Super Bowl. Dan Marino back in 1984, first full season, goes to the playoffs. Peyton Manning, first season, 3-13, bad situation. Second year, goes to the playoffs. So I'm telling you this, if Trevor Lawrence was the 15th player taken in the first round, I would agree with you. But the problem is, if you're picked the number one guy and you don't at least go win a Super Bowl in your career, you're a bust.
That's a fair statement. Only in his second year, he's showing improvement in all aspects of the game. That's all really you can ask for.
But he shouldn't be shot. No, he's the first pick in the draft.
Again.
Hey, Joe Burrow makes Zach Taylor look like a good coach. If that's the case, I'm sure Trevor Lawrence can make Urban Meyer look like a good coach.
I think,
I guarantee you this, if Burrow would have went to the Jaguars and they'd have had Urban Meyer, they'd have won 6-7 games his first year, and they'd have been in the playoffs his second year.
That's a bold statement.
Because I think it's easy to make. I think you would say the same thing about an Andrew Luck. We watched Andrew Luck take a Colts team that wasn't that good all the way to the championship game against the Patriots. Great quarterbacks find ways to win. This will be the first year Aaron Rodgers hasn't made the playoffs.
Yeah,
Tom Brady missed the playoffs in his career one time in like 400 years. I mean, the thing is this. We're talking about the number one pick in the draft. Number one. Not number 12, not number 15. If you're the number one pick, they pay you the big money. They put their whole future in your hands. If you can't win them a Super Bowl, you're a bust.
We've also seen the effect that terrible coaches have on good quarterbacks and good teams.
But we're not talking about good. We're talking about you're supposed to be a generational talent if you're the number one pick. Generational talents win.
So it's only his second year. Give him a little bit more time. I'm happy with what I'm seeing thus far, and I like to see him do more.
Wait a second. If you were the Jacksonville Jaguars GM, when you got Trevor Lawrence last year, if they'd have told you he's going to win 4 games this year, and then next year he's going to win 7, that's what you're drafting for the first pick still?
Listen, not everything is hit the ground and sprint.
No, it's not. But if it's the first pick in the draft, you just mortgage your entire team's future. He better come in and perform.
The Jaguars also suck. Last year they were awful with a terrible coach, terrible system, terrible everything.
So did the Bengals. And Joe Burrow actually stayed with that coach and got.
And the Jaguars have no talent.
They've got talent now.
Well, sure. Etienne is nice. But they need an alpha receiver. They need to get something at tight end. They need to rebuild that O-line. They're not a team without faults.
Let me give you this too. Justin Herbert will still put up big numbers when Mike Williams and Keenan Allen aren't there. Joe Burrow won 3 straight games without Jamar Chase there. I don't want to hear that crap. If you are an elite quarterback, you put your team on your back and you take them with you.
Yo, and as good as Justin Herbert is, you know how I feel about Herbert. Even that man has been inconsistent this year.
Because he was not the number one pick, so that's fine. And Joe Burrow is already a freaking legend. So what the hell do you want?
I don't know. I don't know what I want, Mike.
He beat your Mahomie 3 times in 1 year.
You know what I want?
That's a fluke, but
you know what I want? Here's what I want. I want to do 2 things. First, I want to remind everyone to head on over to betting.net. So they can see for themselves how betting.net makes it easy to find all of the illegal online
betting.net
in your state, betting.net. And let me get this back up. And then my second thing I want to do.
See, like I would have been the number one guy picked in the draft to do the show, and you'd have been the last guy in the first round. This is the difference. This is the difference. It takes you long times to figure things out.
It's fine. It's a marathon, not a sprint, right?
Sure.
And the second thing I want to do is move on to the next game. It's the Kansas City Chiefs at the Houston Texans. David versus Goliath. Kansas City minus 14.
I love when people say that. You know, you've got to, if you're saying it's David versus Goliath, you have to pick the Texans because David won.
He did. But you know what? I'm going to take Kansas City.
See, then it's not David versus Goliath. It's a semi-truck against a Volkswagen.
It's what should have happened. All right? That's what should have happened. Goliath should have just squished David. And what about his day? Doing giant stuff.
So is Patrick Mahomes still your MVP? Was his 3-interception game against the Denver Broncos?
Maybe Jalen Hurts now. But
it's Joe Burrow.
But Mahomes is definitely still up there.
So is it Joe Burrow after he goes and beats Brady, beats the Patriots, beats the Bills, beats the Ravens? Because then that means every team in the playoffs he'll have already beaten.
His performance will have to be determined.
Well, I'm telling you this, you're not beating those 4 teams without performing at quarterback.
Because, I'll tell you what, if the Bengals defense does what we know they can do and mix in...
They're one of the best defenses in the NFL.
I know they are. And if they can be a top 5 defense like we expect them to be, they may not need Burrow to air it out. Maybe he has some Jimmy G games in him, 1 touchdown, 16 to 21, 200.
That's not a Jimmy G game. Jimmy G don't go 16 for 21. If he does, it's for 77 yards. But I would think that 4 straight 16 to 21 games with a touchdown in each one should win him the MVP.
Okay, here we go. Paul Sullivan coming back with some knowledge. Chiefs, no doubt. And my favorite, Mahomes is 5th in MVP talk. That's gross.
But it's where it should be because he has not played well.
It's awful.
He lost to the Colts.
It happens. It's the NFL. So I'm taking Kansas City. I got sand. Do you, Mike?
Yeah, I'm taking Kansas City.
Hot damn. Casey all the way. Can I have Jerick McKinnon get me a couple touchdowns? I need that man to do it in fantasy.
I don't know. I would just say if you're a grown-ass man and your fantasy is cheering for other grown men in tights, you got issues.
Listen, it's 2022, baby. You got to do what we got to do out here. Let's move on. The Arizona Cardinals at the Denver Broncos. Denver minus 2.5. How are you feeling about this
morning? How are you feeling? Why do I always got to go first?
I don't know how I feel about this line. I'm going to take the Denver Broncos against my better judgment, and it's only because I think the Cardinals are just such a disaster right now. As much as bad as the Broncos are, I don't know if I can even say this without feeling dumb, but I think Arizona's in worse shape. Aside from losing their quarterback, Cliff Kingsbury seems to just
but Nathaniel Hackett's even worse.
Disgust everybody. This is another garbage game. I know he what's this guy? Here we go. Not Jake. Paul Sullivan. I know Paul said garbage game for one of the early ones, but this is trash. This is a hideous game. And what does he say? Broncos, if they score 12. Well, if they score 18, they have 10 wins. So
probably first one to 8, but
first one to 10 wins. Go. So I'm taking Denver extremely reluctantly.
Yeah, I'm taking Denver too. Might as well go with the home team.
It's gross. 2.5. I hate this. This should be -1. Teams suck. Here we go. We got 5 games left hitting the home stretch. New England Patriots at the Vegas Raiders. McDaniels faces his old team. Vegas is actually -1.
I'm pretty much a pick 'em.
It's a pick 'em. I'm going to take New England in this game. I know they've got injury questions in the backfield.
They're playing the wrong quarterback too, by the way.
And maybe we see Bailey Zappi in this game if Mac Jones shits the bed again. But I'm going to take the Patriots.
All right, I'm going to take the Raiders. They're on a little bit of a streak. They've got a little bit of a rust advantage. The only problem is Josh McDaniels against Bill Belichick.
Yep, master versus student.
No, jeez. All right, I'm gonna go with you, I guess, and take New England because
That's
New
right.
England's still playing for something. If they lose this game, their season's dead. If they win the game, they're 8-6. Joe Burrow goes and smacks the shit out of them. They'll be done anyways. But hell, I'm gonna take the Raiders. No, what's the Raiders situation injury wise? Josh
Okay.
Jacobs good to go.
There's a lot going on here. So Jacoby Myers is back. He's been out. They got a bunch of starters who were limited. And Stevenson with an ankle did not practice. Harris was limited. Both running backs questionable. On the Raiders' end, nothing that we didn't already know. Nothing new, nothing special. Actually, fun thing, Darren Waller, their tight end, and Hunter Renfrow, wide receiver, are both slated to come off of injured reserve. I know Darren Waller was talking about playing in this game. He wanted to play last week, but the team held off. So maybe we see Darren Waller this week. Maybe we see Hunter Renfrow. That might change things up for Vegas. But for now, I'm going to take New England.
All right, I'm going to take the Raiders. I don't like the coaching thing. I agree with Paul there, but got to have players too. And actually, I think the Raiders have better players.
Yeah, they do.
They're better at quarterback. They're better at running back. They're better at wide receiver. They're better at almost every position except head coach.
I don't know about wide receiver if Renfrow is healthy because the Raiders have. Oh, I know. You said the Raiders are better.
Yeah, the Raiders are better.
All right, they said the Pats were better at receivers. All right.
No, hell, Raiders skill position wise, when you're healthy, probably top 5 unit in the NFL.
Only thing that I think the Patriots are better at besides coaching is the offensive line and the defense, particularly.
Yeah, the Patriots' offensive line is very good.
So,
but I just question if the Patriots are going to be able to score points here.
So Las Vegas, final answer. You kind of flip-flopped a bit there.
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas, -1, written down. Moving on. And now we got the final four. Tennessee Titans at the LA Chargers. Both teams 7-6. Both teams fighting for the playoffs. One is in the lead of the division. The other one's a wild card. It's Chargers -2.5. Mike.
I'm taking the Titans. I think the Titans will win the game. My reason is this. The Titans are on a 3-game skid. They have not forced turnovers at all. Chargers are a team that has given up turnovers before. I also think the Chargers had difficulty stopping the run. Derrick Henry will have a big game. Ryan Tannehill will play well. But Justin Herbert throws 2 picks, and the Titans pull the upset. Hey, and if they lose by 2, I'm good with that too.
So Tennessee. Now, I've been kind of flip-flopping on this one because this line has been anywhere from
I've seen pick them to 3.
Yeah, from like 1, 1.5 to like 3. This is the healthiest that the Chargers have been all season, which is sad to say in #Chargers problems. But if the Chargers are healthy, they are on paper, talent-wise, one of the better teams overall.
Unfortunately, though, when they're healthy, they never play like that.
And they're never healthy. But this is the healthiest they've been. And Derwin James is playing, Sebastian Joseph-Day, the D lineman, Bryce Callahan at corner. They're getting a lot of quality vets back, and Herbert is getting healthier. The team is right. The offense has got the pieces. So this is tough. Paul Sullivan, I'm going to use you as a buffer. Tough pick. Could go either way. I'll take Chargers in a last-minute win. You know what? I'm going to take the Chargers as well. They're at home. Justin Herbert. And they are playing for their lives. They literally control their fate. Just win, and you're in. It's that simple. They own tiebreakers over all the other teams that are behind them right now that have the same or one less game, record-wise in the win column. So show us you're healthy. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, show us. All right, and go back here. Boom. Move on to your Cincinnati Bengals at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Cincinnati -3.5 here. And I think this is a pretty easy pick here.
Well, the injuries for the Bengals are a concern because I think there's a good chance Tyler Boyd doesn't play. I think there's a good chance that T. Higgins doesn't play. But last week, Joe Burrow completes without those guys, passes to 8 other receivers. And I mean, they even had 2 white guys tearing people up at wide receiver. When do you ever see that at the same time on one game in an NFL team?
Listen,
So,
it doesn't happen often.
but you got Tom Brady on the other side. They're in a must win. Both teams are in a must win because nobody brings this up. But if the Bengals were to go beat Tampa, which they'll be favored to do, they go beat, who the hell's there in New England, who they'll be probably favored to beat. They then will play Buffalo at home, who they'll probably be favored to beat. They'll play Baltimore at home, who they'll be favored to beat. If you get what I'm saying here, if the Bengals do what they should, which is win these next 4 games, they'll be the number 1 seed. The Super Bowl goes through Cincinnati. On this game, though, I got to go with the GOAT. So I'm taking Joe Burrow and the Bengals to kick Tom Brady's ass.
Woo! You see, when you said you were going with the GOAT, I had started to write a T for Tampa, but then you switched it up on me. I see what you did, and I like it. I like it a lot. Where's this guy? There he is. Paul Sullivan chiming in. My man. Bengals Bucks defense is fighting so many injuries. Brady just isn't playing well. It sounds like Paul is also taking Cincinnati.
Because Paul knows Joe Burrow's the GOAT.
Now, in terms of injury, I just want to go down this list.
Oh, yeah, the Trey Hendrickson and Joseph Asai. Trey Hendrickson wasn't even in the building when they practiced today.
Yep.
Zach Taylor says he still holds out. I hope he's going to play. He's not going to play. Trey Hendrickson will be out. Osai probably going to be out. So you just took out 2 of the top 3. You got Hayden Hurst. You got Tyler Boyd. You got T. Higgins. But the other thing you got now is a healthy Joe Mixon, Samaje Perine in the backfield. They don't have – they're going to run the ball down the Bucs' throat at will. And let's face it, Jamar Chase may have 200 yards receiving this week, and the 2 white boys will each make like 2 catches each for 13 yards in each catch, and the Bengals will kick the shit out of the Bucs. I'm tired of disrespect. The Bengals are the best team in the NFL right now.
Who's disrespecting the Bengals?
Everybody does. You look at the power rankings, they'll have the Bengals 6th, 7th. I saw one today that had them 7th under Minnesota. How can you put – I can see Cincinnati should be no lower than number 2 or 3. Number 1 should be the Philadelphia Eagles. They've earned that. They've only lost 1 game. But really, if I handed you $1 million and I said you have to bet on the Super Bowl, the Eagles are playing the Bengals, is there any way in hell you would be dumb enough to throw your money on the Eagles if both teams are completely healthy?
No.
So, this is the disrespect that Cincinnati has always gotten. Most of that is the Brown family's problem, which is why it's like that, because it was such a joke for so long. But this Bengals team, nobody ever talks about the defense. Well, the defense is average because they're ranked 15th. Well, also, you got one of the best offenses, probably when healthy, the best offense in the NFL. Points get scored. They don't hold on to the ball a long time. So your defensive stats aren't going to look as good because you're defending more possessions, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And, when you look at that, I think the Bengals, I still think, I agree with Paul, they'll still get pressure. And, you're running with Jermaine Pratt and Logan Wilson, who are 2 of the best linebackers in football, and nobody's ever heard of them.
And Paul seems pretty confident that T. Higgins will play. That being said, he was held out of practice with a hamstring injury. Or I'm sorry, he was limited with a hamstring.
He was limited. He practiced more than he did last week. But last week they said he would play too. With a hamstring, I don't think Paul will know that till Sunday. And I know Paul was a competitive runner. And, Paul knows how that could be. You heard a hamstring.
Oh, yeah. Those soft tissue injuries.
Yeah, or a groin. Dan get a groin injury. He's out for like 3 years. And I'll tell you what, there was a couple of tissue companies that went out of business when that happened.
Yuck. Gross. I need an adult pineapples. We're going to move on.
Did you pick the Bengals Bucks? You didn't pick the Bengals Bucks.
Oh, my God, I didn't. I thought I did.
You'll have to pass now.
I'm going to go Cincinnati.
See? Because you know, too.
Yo, I don't care about the injuries. When I said I thought this was an easy pick, I meant it. I don't give a damn.
It's Joe Burrow.
Yo, I don't give a damn who's not playing. All that matters is Burrow's playing. That's
Yes.
all that matters.
Thank you, because he's the greatest quarterback that ever freaking lived. All
That's
right, next game.
that matters. All right, and we're down to our final
Wait.
two.
Well, if anybody like Paul remembers listening last year about this time, when I said Joe Burrow was better than Justin Herbert, you told me I was sick. And then when I told you, and when we picked the Bengals Chiefs the first time, and I picked the Bengals straight up to beat them because the Bengals were better at every position, it was right. And then when I picked him the second time in a championship game, you told me I was nuts. I said, Joe Burrow is a great player. He'll get the win. He's better than Mahomes. And he did. A couple weeks ago, there's no way Mahomes will lose 3 times in a row in 1 year to Joe Burrow. And what happened? He lost to Joe Burrow. So you might as well get on the Burrow train, because if you wait any longer, you're going to look really stupid.
No, I'm never getting on that train. Let that man win a Super Bowl first before we say he's better than Mahomes.
Whatever. Mahomes won 1 Super Bowl, so I would rather
one more than Burrow. For a guy who loves Super Bowl winners, the fact that you discount Mahomes.
Wait a second. Mahomes didn't get to the Super Bowl in his 3rd year, though.
2nd year as a starter.
3rd year, so he wasn't even good enough. Wait a second. The first year of their career, then there's no doubt Joe Burrow was better. The 2nd year of their career, Joe Burrow went to the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes lost in the AFC Championship game. So year 2, Joe Burrow was better. So year for year, if you matched them from the start of their career right now, the first 2 years, not even close. So Joe Burrow wins a Super Bowl. They're tied on the 3rd one. So you got to do this. Joe Burrow win the Super Bowl this year. You got to come on the show and you got to apologize to me, Paul, and Joe.
And all of Houday Nation.
Yes, and you have to shave your beard.
Didn't we do this last year?
No, because you wouldn't do it.
I didn't want to do it.
Do it.
Say a 5-yard overthrow by Jimmy G.
Yeah, that is how the Chiefs won the Super Bowl.
Sucks to suck. Jimmy needs to be a better quarterback.
You suck because you're talking about situations people were in before. What's next?
And you know what? Before we move on, one more thing with the Joe Burrow Mahomes thing. When Tom Brady, the Tom Brady and Peyton Manning rivalry in the early going, Peyton was Peyton Manning, Pro Bowler, MVP, already a legend. Tom Brady wasn't. But Tom Brady,
I remember dumbasses like you disputing me when I told him Tom Brady is better than Peyton Manning.
But Tom Brady and the Patriots still owned Peyton Manning at every turn.
And Tom Brady was better.
Despite Peyton being what he was. And no one at that time was saying Tom Brady's better than Peyton Manning. Nobody was saying at that when the rivalry first started.
I was saying it. I could prove it too.
I'm sure.
There's plenty of people that'll tell you, because I always told Peyton Manning was a front runner. I mean, anybody that, sexually assaults a woman is that. And if you don't believe me, just go in Peyton Manning, sexual assault, 19 or Tennessee, and you'll find out everything you need to know. If you want, we can do it on the show right now. I think I did it for you on the show one time.
I think you might have, actually.
Yeah, because it's true. Sports Illustrated wrote an article about it just 3 years ago. I mean, the woman even had people that saw it, and, they made it go away. $1 million made it go away.
Pays to be rich and successful, or whatever.
I'll take Eli any day.
So Paul Sullivan is I think we struck a nerve with Paul.
Well, I think he's talking about Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, because it's bull crap. I mean, it's a sideshow. He's a freak show. He's Donovan McNabb. Only Andy Reid accidentally won a Super Bowl one time because Jimmy Garoppolo quarterbacked the 49ers.
If only it was a better quarterback.
It's kind of like Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl because he got to play against Rex Grossman.
We play with the hands we're dealt, right?
Mm-hmm.
The New York Giants at the Washington Commanders. Washington minus 4.5. Ooh. This is a big game. This has huge implications for both of these teams. The loser is pretty much out, I think, anyway. The Giants haven't been playing well. I told my buddy Bob when we went to the Giants-Lions game, I told him, I was like, yo, y'all going to lose this game, and it's going to be downhill from here. And I was right. Sorry, Bob. I'm going to take Washington here, even though the line is a little hideous at minus 4.5. I think the Giants are reeling. They are who we thought they were. It's a long season.
I think that's a bunch of crap. They won 7 games. You never thought they were that. Brian Daboll's changed the culture. They got to get more players. I think they had a good offseason last year. Hopefully that continues since they've got a new GM. I think the Giants are fine. They're going to lose, and they're probably going to lose the rest of their games. Commanders are going to win this game.
They're going to lose, and they're going to lose out.
But even losing out, I thought they'd win 4 games this year. They won almost twice that. We're still talking about them week 15 in a game that can put them, because whoever wins this game, I think there's no doubts going to the playoffs.
That's what I said. That's what I'm saying. Whoever loses is pretty much out. It's that simple.
Yeah. It may not be. Put it like this: if you lose, you're not really out because you're within a game with 3 to go, but you're out. It's just because I would say you're going to be out because it's the Jets, and I just don't see where they get the firepower to continue this.
So you take a Washington as well?
Yeah.
Washington -4.5. We both go Washington. All right. So this is our final game. It's going to be an interesting week. LA Rams, Green Bay Packers. But before we pick it, I want to remind everyone that betting.net finds the best promotions, offers, and bonus codes, so you don't have to. Head over to their website, betting.net now, to take advantage of things like free bets and matching deposits, betting.net. Final game. Let me get this banner back up. Rams at Packers, Green Bay -7. Mike, what's it going to be?
Dude, I'm rolling with Baker. The last time Baker played in Cleveland, he threw 4 interceptions, but he was a Brown. That's no good. The Packers are coming off a bye week. Now, let's face it, both teams are a mess. I think maybe Baker Mayfield injects a little life here, maybe gets another win. So I'm going to take the Rams and the points. But I think they could win the game. And I think they could also lose the game really bad. So it's one of those 3 things. But I'm going to go with the Rams and take the points.
I want so badly to pick Green Bay.
Well, but I'm going to take that's the smart pick. I notice now you kind of try to pick everything I do except for a couple of games, since now you've been almost caught and exposed for the shame that you are picking NFL games.
Hey, I've picked the first, I think, 4 of the last 6 games.
Yeah, see? But you knew what I was going to pick because you're reading my mind.
But no, as far as the Rams go, I don't think they're going to win this game. I think the Packers win it. And I want to pick the Packers so badly. They're not as bad as the record says. They can't be. I don't believe it. I don't want to believe it. I don't. But I'm going to take the Rams. I'm trying to stay here. Trying to stay in the lead. And with that in mind,
you're changing everything for that reason. Go ahead.
And with that in mind,
hey, and you know what? I know Steve Rizley's watching this. And the only way we can get him to watch the whole show probably is I waited till now to call Dan Kornhauser a dumbass.
First one of the night, 53 minutes and 15 seconds in. That might be a record. All right, so I'm up 4 games. The games that we picked differently, Miami, Buffalo, I picked Miami, you picked Buffalo. Dallas, Jacksonville, I picked Dallas, you picked Jacksonville. New England, Las Vegas, I picked the Pats, you picked the Raiders. Chargers, Titans, I picked the Chargers, you picked the Titans. So you're either going to catch up to me, or I'm going to run away with it, or
there's probably a better chance that we're still sitting at 4 next week. So it's
going to be a very interesting week. But
you're joking. You're Justin Herbert. You're Justin Herbert. I'm Joe Burrow. I'm going to turn it on at the end, and you're going to shit your pants.
Fugly out here. I can't have that meltdown.
Did you make the agreement tonight that you will shave your beard if the Bengals win the Super Bowl this year?
Yes. If the Bengals win the Super Bowl this year, I will shave this luscious, beautiful, thick facial hair.
And you have to put it in an envelope and send it to Joe Spillman.
See, that's how you get something in an envelope you don't want.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Joe might want that.
I don't know. I'm
thinking of a South Park. I'm thinking of a South Park episode involving.
I'm feeling pretty good now. Buckeyes are in the playoffs, but let's.
Paul, come on, Paul. That's a
Yeah.
weak beard. Come on,
Paul,
man.
Paul, do you want to be on the show next week? We got Paul as a guest picker. He could show you his beard.
Yeah, I want to verbally abuse Paul on the air now. You suck,
Oh,
Paul.
come on, Paul. You up next week, 8:00 Wednesday night to be on the NFL Pick'em Show.
Paul.
Come on, Paul. Give us an answer, Paul. This is yes
Come on,
or
Paul.
no. Don't be a politician. Yes or no.
Politician. I love it.
Yeah.
Come on. I'm so sensitive.
Is that a
Don't
yes
you
or
worry.
a no? He's a politician.
I'll be very gentle, almost lover-like with my abuse.
He will too. That's why Steve Risley, I have to admit this, Steve Risley has refused to be on this show the last 2 weeks because on the post show for the NFL show a couple weeks ago, I think Dan had drank one or two too many beers, and we were on the post show, and we're all on here, and all of a sudden Dan stood up and exposed himself. And since then, Risley has decided until Dan apologizes to him publicly on air, Steve will not come back on the show until that happens. So would you like to apologize to Steve Risley for exposing yourself to him?
Steve, I'm sorry I didn't show you my junk. I know you want to see it. And so does Paul, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that it's junk makes everybody want to see it. All right, junk is what your last wife nicknamed your dick.
Nice. Oh, wait, here we go.
Oh, geez.
Boo.
Come on, Paul.
Boo. Yo, have your daughter on the air, too. Let her make some picks.
There you go. It'll be better than Joe.
It can't be any worse than Joe.
Wait.
I mean,
you're the guy that got one right last week.
Yeah, for someone who got one right, I'm talking smack. That's what we do out here. Yeah. Got to let them know. And you know what else we do? We got to let you guys know that betting.net is not just sports betting. Betting.net compares the best online casinos as well. So sit back, relax, and play the top online slots, poker, and table games.
You lost
over at betting.net.
You lost it. Oh, actually, she's off next week. All right. So, Paul, what you have to do is just send me your email on Facebook, and then we'll get you the link for the show. Paul Sullivan will appear with Dan. And remember, Dan Kornhauser has promised to shave his beard if the Bengals win the Super Bowl. That beard shaving will be on air live.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
And I have not shaved my face completely bare in like 4 or 5 years minimum, something like that. It's going to be weird. Luckily, it's going to be the middle of winter, so my face is going to be completely freezing, which is awesome. So excited.
Oh, man. You just made a bet you're going to regret.
We'll see. Now that I made that bet, the Bengals aren't going to win. You know what? No, because I made that bet, the Bengals are going to win. Just to spite me. Yeah. Just to piss me off.
Yeah, and they're going to beat the Detroit Lions. That would be awesome. Lions, Bengals, Super Bowl. Dan loses his beard if the Lions lose.
Listen, did we put in for those Super Bowl credentials yet?
I can. I've been messed up in my head since I got the wrist shoulder surgery. My wife's going to see that it's out of the sling. I got to put it back.
Yeah, she's going to make sure you're in that sling for a few more weeks.
I'm going to be in the sling for a few more weeks, unfortunately.
Well, against your will, longer.
3 to 6 weeks in a sling. I think 6 weeks in a sling.
Mike, do you have any final thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, anything about Week 15?
No.
All right. So you know what?
What?
We're done.
Okay.
That's how we do it.
Are you going to wrap it up? Or are you smart enough to do this with the the Grueling Truth where legends speak?
I think so.
This is like a big moment.
I think so. Let me try.
This is like when Lisa Marie first sang right after Elvis.
Make sure you head on over to thegruelingtruth.com. The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak. Give Mike and myself follows. We are on Twitter. Mike, what's the handle?
At Grueling Truth. Plus, we've got Dan and Billy Bob's Talking Sports or something, isn't it?
DB Talking Sports. D is in Dan.
How many followers you got now, Dan?
69.
How many followers do I have?
A lot more.
24,200. If you count Facebook, that's another 200,000 there. If you count YouTube, that's another 70,000.
Just a few more.
And you've
I'm
got
catching up.
69. That means you've like tripled since last year, though.
Yeah, and I've actually deleted some so I can stay at that number.
Very few of you deleted.
You
You can always try to get it to 69,000.
We'll stick for 69 for now.
Okay.
I'm Dan Kornhauser for Mike Goodpaster. Steve, feel better. Miss you, bud. Hopefully we'll see you next week on the show. Mike Goodpaster, Dan Kornhauser, gruelingtruth.com. Legend speak.
Oh, come on. That was horrible. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak, you bozo. Try it again, because you haven't left. Have you turned the show off?
Nope, not yet. Okay.
Come on, try it again.
For Mike Goodpaster, I'm Dan Kornhauser, and this has been the NFL Prediction Show on thegruelingtruth.com.
All right. We'll see you guys.
Legend speak.
We'll see you guys next week.